If you
Welcome
like
back,
this
Focus
video,
Learners.
like,
Today we're
share,
going to
and
unpack
subscribe
one of
to
the
Wealth
most
Decoded
brilliant
for
yet
more of our
honestly
business,
kind of
finance, and
misunderstood
tech
business models
explainers.
in modern history.
Turn on the bell to
We're
get
looking at a
notified when
global
a new
empire that
video
is
is
hiding a
uploaded.
massive
Thank
secret
you for
right in plain
watching,
sight.
and we will see you all in the next
let's
one.
dive into this. When you see those iconic golden arches, what immediately comes to your mind? Probably burgers, right? French fries, maybe pulling up to a drive-through window. You see one of the world's absolute biggest fast food chains, serving literally millions of customers every single day across over 100 countries. But I want to challenge that perception today. What if I told you that this company, the one selling billions of burgers, isn't actually in the fast food business at all? No way, right?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the incredible cognitive dissonance at the very heart of their business model. While pretty much every other competitor in the market was, and honestly still is, intensely focused on selling more food, McDonald's was quietly playing a completely different game. They were building a global portfolio of prime commercial real estate. You see, the burgers, they're just the engine. The real wealth is actually in the land right beneath them. But to understand how this all happened, we gotta rewind.
Section 1. The origin of fast food.
Picture this. It's the late 1930s in San Bernardino, California. Brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald were running a super popular drive-in, but they were getting deeply frustrated. The service was slow, errors were everywhere, and the costs were just sky high. So they did something completely unthinkable. They temporarily closed down a thriving restaurant to completely redesign their whole operation. When they reopened, they rolled out the speedy service system. They slashed their menu down to just a handful of top sellers, burgers, fries, shakes. They totally eliminated table service. And inside the kitchen, they set up this factory-like assembly line where one person grilled, one toasted, one topped, and one served. They essentially invented what we now call the rule of 3 for fast food: lightning fast service, highly affordable food, and unyielding, consistent quality.
Now, the brothers were thrilled with their hyper-efficient, highly profitable little restaurant. But the story really kicks into high gear in 1954. A traveling salesman noticed something super strange. One single small restaurant in California had just ordered 8 commercial milkshake machines from him. 8! That's enough to make a dizzying amount of milkshakes. The salesman just couldn't wrap his head around how a single location could possibly need that kind of volume. He literally had to drive out to San Bernardino and see this incredibly efficient system for himself. And that salesman's name? Ray Kroc.
Section 2. The billion-dollar pit.
So Kroc had formed McDonald's System Inc. to duplicate this amazing restaurant across America. But they hit a massive roadblock. Despite their rapid expansion, the franchisees operating the stores were actually making way more money than the parent corporation itself. The math simply wasn't adding up to a billion-dollar empire. Enter Harry J. Sonborn. He was a financial advisor who took one look at the struggling corporate balance sheet and realized they were looking at the totally wrong asset. He told Ray Kroc that to build a lasting empire, they needed to completely rethink their identity. The burgers were just a distraction. And this brilliantly illustrates his turning point realization. They weren't technically in the food business, they were in the real estate business. Let's break down the actual mechanics of this Sonborn shift. Under the old model, McDonald's just took a standard fee and a percentage of food sales. Pretty basic. But under this new strategy, McDonald's started aggressively purchasing prime commercial land at busy intersections and rapidly growing suburbs, and right off major highways. They would secure the land, build or finance the restaurant, and then lease it back to the franchisee. Think about what that does. Now the corporation was collecting the initial fee, the royalties on the food, and a base rent for the property. This created completely predictable revenue, regardless of how many burgers were actually sold on, say, a rainy Tuesday.
But owning the real estate did something else, something arguably even more important than the rent checks. It gave McDonald's the ultimate leverage. Think about it. If a franchisee owned their own building and decided to, cut corners on food quality, it was really hard to stop them. But if McDonald's owned the land, they had extraordinary control over the network. If you didn't meet their strict operating standards, you could literally lose your lease. This ensured strict consistency across thousands of locations, protecting the brand's reputation and making sure they survived even the harshest economic downturns.
Section 3. The franchise engine. Now, you might be asking yourself, why on earth would any self-respecting entrepreneur agree to such incredibly strict corporate control and hand over big rent checks to boot? Well, the crucial point is that when an entrepreneur signs on with McDonald's, they aren't starting from scratch. They are basically buying a turnkey business. They get instant global brand recognition. Customers already trust that big sign out front. They get extensive, proven training in everything from food safety to financial planning. And critically, they get massive purchasing power. Because McDonald's buys ingredients and equipment on a colossal scale, individual franchisees get economies of scale that an independent restaurant owner could honestly only dream of. The franchisee can just focus on running a great daily operation rather than, say, haggling with potato suppliers.
Section 4. Scaling the system globally. Fast forward to the 1970s, and Ray Kroc shifted his focus from conquering cities to conquering continents. Just look at the scale of this today. McDonald's operates in over 100 countries, but really think about the immense logistical challenge that represents. Maintaining lightning-fast service and identical fry quality whether you're standing in a restaurant in New York, London, Tokyo, or Dubai, that requires a level of coordination that is just staggering. You can't just copy and paste a standard American menu into every single culture. And this brings us to their brilliant adaptation strategy. They maintain that unyielding operational consistency behind the counter, but they completely adapt the menu to respect local tastes. For example, in India, where many people do not eat beef, they introduced chicken and vegetarian burgers. In Japan, they brought in unique local flavors. But regardless of what was actually on the menu, they built one of the most highly sophisticated global supply chains in human history to ensure the ingredients arrived exactly on time to the exact same quality standard. They made sure the golden arches meant the exact same standard of trust in every single language.
Section 5. Innovating for the future.
As consumer habits constantly changed and global competition really started heating up from brands like Starbucks and Wendy's, McDonald's knew they had to reinvent themselves yet again to avoid the fatal trap of complacency. Let's move to this timeline and see how this builds a picture of their technological adaptability across the decades. They pioneered the speedy service in the 40s, they scaled the drive-thru in the 70s, but in the 2010s, they realized speed meant digital, rolling out the mobile app, loyalty programs, and delivery. And now, in the 2020s, they are rapidly integrating AI and automation to meet the rising demand for hyper-personalization and speed. They don't just react to the future, guys. They systemize it. Let's look at the specific technologies driving this machine right now. You've probably used their self-order kiosks yourself, which naturally reduce wait times and improve order accuracy. They've partnered with third-party delivery apps so you can get a Big Mac delivered right to your living room couch. Behind the scenes, they're using AI demand forecasting, literally analyzing the weather, local events, and the time of day to predict exactly what the kitchen should be prepping. And they're even rolling out automated kitchen equipment. The philosophy here isn't to replace human workers, not at all. It's to make every single location faster, smarter, and incredibly efficient at an extraordinary global scale.
Section 6. The ultimate lesson.
So how did a small, frustrated family burger joint in California transform into one of the most valuable, recognizable consumer brands ever created? It wasn't because they made the world's absolute best gourmet burger. It was because they designed the world's best business architecture. McDonald's is an empire built on 3 unshakable pillars. First, real estate, securing appreciating assets that generate predictable rent. Second, franchising, partnering with driven entrepreneurs who fund the daily operations and expansion. And third, operational excellence, enforcing a standardized system that guarantees consistency. These 3 elements create a continuous, unstoppable cycle of growth. Their true competitive advantage isn't the menu. It's their relentless ability to adapt their operations to whatever the market demands.
And this brings us to the core takeaway for you, the focused learner. The most successful companies in the world often hide their most profitable engines just beneath the surface. When you walk into a McDonald's, you see a simple food transaction. But beneath your feet is a massive real estate empire, surrounded by an absolute masterclass in supply chain logistics and franchisee management. The product you see on the counter, it's really just the bait.
Which leaves us with a totally fascinating thought. If one of the biggest restaurant chains in the entire world is actually a real estate titan in disguise, what else are we missing? Behind every billion-dollar company, there's a complex, hidden strategy just waiting to be decoded. I challenge you to look closer at the brands you interact with every single day. What is their real engine? What will the next hidden giant be? Keep questioning, keep learning, and make sure to engage with our explainers as we continue to decode the mechanics of the world's most fascinating businesses. See you next time.
If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe to Wealth Decoded for more of our business, finance, and tech explainers. Turn on the bell to get notified when a new video is uploaded. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.